About 2 million years ago, a group of early humans living on the African savanna started doing something their ancestors had never done: cooking meat. Not because they invented fire on purpose. Most researchers think they were scavenging carcasses left behind by wildfires and figured out, probably by accident, that the cooked flesh was easier to eat. Which raises an obvious question. If we owe part of what makes us human to animals dying in fires they didn't start, how much of our evolution was actually accidental? Hi, I'm Mara, and this is Microplanet. The answer is probably more than you'd expect, because several of the traits that define us as a species didn't come from some internal drive to become smarter or more complex. They came from us adapting to animals, following them, eating them, running from them, and occasionally copying them in ways that had enormous unintended consequences. The first one starts with running. Humans are terrible sprinters compared to almost every animal on the savanna. A lion can outrun us in seconds. So can a zebra. So can a gazelle. But here's the thing. Humans are extraordinary long-distance runners. We have long legs, short toes, a nuchal ligament that keeps our head stable while we run, sweat glands that allow us to cool ourselves without stopping, and an Achilles tendon that stores and returns energy with every stride. None of this is useful for anything except sustained running over long distances, and researchers believe we developed it all for one specific reason: persistent hunting, chasing animals not by outrunning them in a sprint, but by following them for hours or even days in the heat until they collapse from exhaustion. The prey made us runners. Running made us bipedal, and bipedal posture freed our hands, which eventually freed us to use tools. The second one starts with gut bacteria that weren't ours to begin with. When early humans started eating raw meat and later cooked meat from a much wider variety of animals, they were also ingesting the gut microbiomes of those animals. Some of those bacteria stuck around and set up shop in the human digestive system. Over generations, the human gut adapted to process this richer, more varied diet, which in turn allowed early humans to extract far more calories and nutrients than their plant-heavy ancestors had managed. More calories meant more energy available for the most metabolically expensive organ in the human body, the brain. There's a real case to be made that part of what funded the dramatic expansion of the human brain wasn't intelligence, it was gut bacteria from animals that were already dead. The third one is stranger. We may have learned language partly by watching animals communicate. This one is speculative, but the evidence is interesting. Many animals use alarm calls that carry specific information. Certain bird species have distinct calls for aerial predators versus ground predators, and other animals nearby, including early humans, quickly learned to interpret these calls as reliable signals. Researchers think early humans didn't just benefit from listening to animal calls, they may have begun mimicking them as a form of early referential communication, pointing at a sound to indicate a threat, then eventually developing words to replace the sound. The pressure to track, predict, and communicate about animal behavior may have been one of the earliest drivers of symbolic language, the thing that most sharply separates us from every other species on the planet. Put those three together, and a strange picture emerges. We run the way we do because prey animals kept running away from us. We have the brains we do partly because of microbes that lived in the animals we ate. And the first thing we may have needed symbolic language for was to tell each other where the dangerous animals were. In other words, the animals didn't mean to make us human. The lions didn't decide to make us better runners. The bacteria had no idea what they were building. The birds weren't trying to teach us anything. But every time an animal behaved in a way that created a new pressure on the humans around it, flee faster, eat this, listen to that, the humans who responded best survived. And what survived, generation by generation, looks a lot like us. Which brings us back to those early humans scavenging cooked meat from a wildfire 2 million years ago. The animals that died in that fire didn't choose to change human history, but in a very real sense, they did.